on the subject of other UN information, inconvenient truth for Al Gore as his North Pole sums don't add up. It turns out, remember Al Gore 3 years ago said that by 2009, the summer, that the entire Arctic and Antarctic ice caps would be melted? Unfortunately, they grew by 24%, according to NASA. But see, it doesn't stop Al Gore. Again, yesterday in a press conference, well, not a press conference, a closed-door meeting with only select members of the UN, a press briefing, showing video of the Arctic melting in the summer. That'd be like if I lived in Wisconsin and I went out and showed my house December 15th covered with snow and said, look, it was once cold. And then I show them July 4th, 2010, and say, look, now it's green grass. It's global warming. Yeah, because the Earth's tilted towards the sun. We're orbiting a giant nuclear furnace. But Al Gore 3 years ago said it would be completely melted. It's actually gotten bigger. Bigger than it was 3 years ago, because not only does it get bigger in the winter, smaller in the summer, there's cycles. And this has all been recorded by Arctic expeditions. You know, 1 year an Arctic explorer goes up, and then it gets cold and traps him 200 miles in. And they say, oh, the last expedition 10 years ago, this didn't happen because it fluctuates. I mean, it's even more asinine to say that polar bears can't swim. But worse than that is to say that climate change is abnormal. Think how dumb they think you are. Climate change. Change. Climate change. There were times in British history where every year major rivers froze. Now it hasn't happened in a century. But there were times before that when it didn't freeze at all either. They have records of all of this. It fluctuates. But again, they tell your school kids that penguins can't swim and are drowning. That's what you let them do. These criminals, they know what they're doing. Al Gore came out again and said, look, 5 to 7 years, there's not going to be any ice caps. And then the actual scientist that he quotes came out and said, well, that's not actually right. I'm saying it could potentially maybe happen, but certainly not a 75% chance like Al Gore says. I mean, these guys said we were going to all freeze to death in 1974 and that we had to build and pay global taxes to build giant carbon dioxide factories to terraform the Earth. I mean, they just keep making up lie after lie. But notice, every lie positions them as the saviors of the Earth. They will save you. Just pay them the tax money. The good news is we had a big guest on yesterday who's a high-powered lawyer, works with Congress. And he did break the news here that he's already started litigation, but he didn't want to give details. And I don't know if this is that litigation, but there's a lot of litigation against these different universities and government bodies in the emails openly engaged in fraud. The British have been caught destroying the evidence now. But they said, don't worry, we have the value-added integrated data that we made up. They immediately destroyed the data. What does that tell you when somebody destroys the data when they get caught? It's like the police come in your house and you're like flushing cocaine down the toilet. I mean, it's or let's say you've been killing little kids. You're like throwing their body parts in a furnace as the cops come in, pouring gasoline on it. I mean, just caught red-handed. It's even worse trying to destroy the evidence. So now the Department of Energy's had to send a litigation hold notice regarding CRU to employees asking to preserve documents, saying, do not shred documents. The Department of Energy has received a litigation hold notice from the U.S. Department of Energy General Counsel and the DOE Office of Inspector General. And this is due to lawsuits being filed and congressional requests regarding the Climate Research Unit at the University of East Anglia in England Accordingly, they are requesting that SRNSs, SRRs, this is happening in the U.S. too, not just England, and other site contractors locate and preserve all documents, records, data, correspondence, notes, and other materials, whether official or unofficial, original or duplicative, drafts or final versions, partial or complete, related to global warming. And this includes PDFs, PDAs, Palm Pilots, Blackberries, computers, telephone logs, internet usage files, emails, system manuals, network access information. It goes on and on. Folks, it looks like they're not going to get Copenhagen, but they're going to try to do it by stealth, as Lord Monson and others have said. I want to break that down when we come back. But this is better than we thought. Because if there's no tentative agreement, Obama has nothing to sign. So what they'll do is they're going to sign an agreement to agree to meet in Mexico City next year, like our expert guest said yesterday. And that's now come out today. And he is still going to instruct the EPA to say that carbon dioxide is a deadly poison. And they're going to go ahead and implement the tax. We've got to fight it. We've got to make the Senate and the House do their job. The states have to say no. If we'll just get up off our butts, I mean, if a bully comes over and starts punching us and we lay there, we know he's going to win. But if we just attack the bully, if he's bigger than us in the info war, pick up a rock, slam it upside their head. I mean that figuratively. I mean, do whatever you got to. Pick up a stick. I mean, we got the info war. Let's get nasty with these people. Let's take them on. Let's discredit these criminals. They're scumbag, degenerate filth that will be defeated. We do have the initiative. They are on the run. They've been caught in fraud over and over and over and over again. And they always just say, there's a consensus, no one disagrees, and just move on. But now the fact that they're lying on purpose has been exposed. The third world got the leaked text last week. I told you that was a big deal. I mean, it's like jumping in front of a train's a big deal. I mean, I'm not that smart. When they keep the treaty secret, they plan to keep it secret until Thursday so they can ram it through with Obama there. I mean, imagine how these governments operate. Oh, the treaty's secret. We can't let you see it, and then they leak it, and it says the third world has to make right at double the cuts, and it's meant to shut them off so the IMF and World Bank can take over and totally control them. They will have a banking dictatorship. The UN will have no power. Private banks will rule the planet. I mean, it's just so openly certified corruption, certified tyranny. And, of course, the third world was suckered and told, oh, yeah, you're going to get all of America's money. You're going to get all of Europe and Japan's money. Yes, the same IMF and World Bank that have always been robbing you blind, they're going to suddenly give you all this money because George Soros promises because he's a nice man. And these gullible fools, all paid off by Soros and the UN, I guess they weren't fools, showed up thinking they were about to get a bunch of money, and they were told, actually, we're going to kill most of the people in your country. 15 million starve to death every year. Just our ethanol scam, taking the food production for gasoline, that made 10 million more starve to death. This will be 100-fold that. How's that sound? And the people were like, even though you bought us off, you want to kill most of our people? Yes, we do. And have a one-child policy. How does that sound? Well, gee, already most of our people know you spike the vaccines and kill them. We're going to get overthrown if we try this. And the Africans were crying on TV over it. And our media would spin it and go, the Africans want America to make bigger cuts because America flooded the ocean and made Africa flood. I mean, literally, they're on the news saying Africa's flooding. I mean, it's just... The UN's own report says we've had the least amount of natural disasters per capita in the last decade. And here it is, natural disasters at decade low. There you go, in 2009 UN report, Reuters. So it's a decade low this year. And some of that other news. But the point here is that they are in big trouble, but they're not going to stop. These are criminals. They want to run your life. And they are brainwashing your kids. They run your local schools. They run everything. And you've got to go to your city councils, go to your school boards and say, stop teaching this fraud. Stop teaching my kid your one-child policy. Stop your brainwashing. You degenerate control freaks. Get out of my life, you parasites. We're going to come back, take a bunch of calls, get into the big push now, not just for government-run health care, which looks like it may pass, but for a bunch of new taxes.